Rob Frazier here. So this video, I want to talk about patience, and especially if you're trading on the higher time frames, you need to have lots of patience. Now, some traders, they like to trade and they like to stay on top of their trades, meaning always be in front of the computer, or always have their phone on, or always just be staring at the trade in some way, shape, or form. But if you have a life, you got responsibilities, relationships, kids, a job, you don't have time to always be glued to the computer, which is the whole purpose of this course and this trading style, the trading styles that I'm sharing. So what I wanted to talk about is patience, and basically how I cost myself $928.80 because I was impatient. And I ended up losing $691.33 over the past couple weeks because I've just hit a mental snag. And this is especially why you need to have the mindset and to be continuously working on your mindset, because when your mind is clear, you can look at the trade objectively, know what's happening in the long term, and not freak out because of short-term things that are happening in the market, and especially with the higher time frames. So, getting into it, if you can see this space right here, this right here is where I entered the trade. A little bit early on the grand scheme of things, but my thinking was, for example, you see these two zones right here. You see these two zones is basically support and resistance zones. So I'll get into that in another training. But this right here is support, and this right here is resistance, and it's like an area more so than one price point. So looking back here, I knew that this level, there's a little faint green line here, if you can see that. Faint line right here. And I know that that is a support. So I know that when gold was coming down and hitting this level, it's going to kind of scrape a little bit. It's going to hit that support level and just kind of scrape a little bit, which is exactly what it has done. I knew it was going to do that back on the 4th of March when I entered the trade. So my trade, I ended up entering right here, that blue line, 1289.06. I put in a buy order, 1289.06, had around 4,000 in my trading account balance, and I put 40-cent lot size. So what I have done was, when the market has skidded down this way, because you can see this right here is where I put in my trade, and then you see some red candles, and then you see some wicks coming all the way down here to this faint red line, which is a daily support. This green line is a 4-hour support line. So I put in my buy order right there, and because the market went down against my trade, you know, my account, I think, was like negative, I don't know, like 400 or something like that. You know, which I had it in my account. I mean, I knew big picture what was going to happen, but I freaked out. I didn't have patience, and I exited the trade. And then I had some, you know, other trades gone wrong because I was, all right, well, maybe gold's going to bust through that line and go further south. And then I kept changing charts, which is another problem. If you're trading on the 4-hour chart, you keep everything on you don't look at anything below it. You only look at everything above. When you're trading, you can look at the monthly, the weekly, and I'm talking about time frames here. You look at, you know, monthly, weekly, daily, and then if you're trading on a 4-hour chart, do not go below the 4-hour chart, because it will freak you out. Matter of fact, I will say, in rare cases, you can maybe go down to the 1-hour chart. But do not ever go below that if you're trading on a 4-hour chart. You know, there's one guy I follow. he trades on a daily chart, and he goes down to the 4-hour chart to find his entries. If you're trading on the 4-hour chart, I would say you could go down to the 1-hour chart only to find a place to put in your entry. But other than that, you do not want to be looking at anything else. Once you're in a trade, you keep it on that. You make a trade on a 4-hour chart, you keep it on that 4-hour chart. Had I done that, I would have seen, all right, if we bust through this faint red line here, then I may think about closing out that trade. But what happened? I ended up closing out at negative 400. Over the course of the past couple weeks, I've been kind of screwing around, tinkering around. I was experimenting with different trading strategies for the sake of this course, and as such, I ended up losing a little bit more. Now, I say that also in this video. When you pick a strategy, stick to it. Stick to it, stick to it. Document it. Every single day you make a trade, write down what you're thinking, write down all, everything that, influences every single trade, and that will help you. Also, a couple mistakes I've done, I looked at the phone instead of the computer. When you look at this chart on the phone, it looks totally different, and it warps your perspective. So, had I stayed on the 4-hour chart, maybe looked at the 1-hour chart to kind of see what was going on, and then went back here to 4-hour chart and left this up on my screen over the course of the past couple weeks. So that first week, it just kind of kept sliding sideways, kind of like a, for lack of a better term, crashing airplane. I probably should use a different metaphor there, but like someone coming down from skydiving, and he hits the ground. He doesn't just hit one spot. He hits and kind of runs a little bit, usually. Or a hot air balloon. How about that? Hot air balloons come down, and usually they have a team on the ground grab the hot air balloon, or if the pilot, by himself, it'll just kind of hit the ground and the balloon will slide. I've rode a hot air balloon before. So, the same thing here. Gold was selling, kind of hit the bottom. The sellers started getting tired. Started doing this back and forth stuff, and then what happened? You could see what happened. Over the course of the past couple of weeks, it went right back up to that resistance area right here. And had I stayed in that trade, my initial trade, right here on this green line, hopefully you can see this in the video. I'll do another video or make these lines bigger. But what I have right here is these are support. The green lines are 4-hour support and resistance. The red line are daily support and resistance. But you could see what happened. Had I entered my trade here and just held on to it, yeah, it came down here, bounced, came back up, bounced again. On the 1-hour chart, this looks like a double bottom right here. You can see, if you could look at my mouse, let me go here to the 1-hour. That's why I said sometimes you need to go to the 1-hour and see it. But you can see what happened. Came down here, bounced. Came down here, bounced. And even right here, you can kind of see it a little bit better. But going back to the 4-hour. If you always mark up your chart correctly, you know what's happening in the grand scheme of things. And gold is one of those things that will always have its value. People freak out when the dollar crashes, or these reports do this, these reports do that, blah, 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 the economy's slowing down, blah, blah, blah. People always go back into gold, and that's what happened. And so, long story short, had I entered my initial trade here, which I did, and then I exited here, and then I put in a sell order somewhere, and then I was screwing around with other strategies, so, that's the... there's other factors in there. But I could have had $928.80 because this Friday, 3/22, March 22nd, it closed right here. So 13/12/32 was the actual place where it closed. And that would have been a perfect exit of that trade right there. And what I would do now is watch it. If it goes up into this zone next week, I would just watch it real closely. If it breaks the top here, comes down and retests, and then starts going up again, then we're on again with the buy. If it comes up here and just kind of bounces around and skids sideways, and if I look down at the 1 hour chart and start looking like the sellers are taking over again, then I know I'm going to put in another sell order, and I'm going to go down here, write it down here. So there's only two things that's going to happen, and it's just based off of this next week. So gold right now was at 13, 12-ish area. What I'm simply going to do is watch it. This next week, what's going to happen, it's going to come up here, and you're going to know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday what's going to happen. It's going to go up in here, and in this case, you're going to be looking for a reversal. If you see a major reversal, especially on this 4 hour chart, it's going to go right back down here. Period. If not, just watch it. If you don't see any reversal and the trend keeps going up, it's going to pop up through the top here. You're going to wait for the retest, which is going to happen. The retest is when it pulls back, so it's going to pop up, bounce off, and then continue on up. My prediction, we'll just have to watch what happens Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Especially Sunday, Monday, really. Tuesday, you'll know exactly where it's going. So that being said, so Tuesday, what is Tuesday? The March 26th, 2019. So, Rob Fraser here. Hopefully got some value out of that video. This is going into the training course I might just store up on YouTube. If you're coming across this video on YouTube, you want to get in my group, learn how I trade, even though I document my losses. I learn more from my losses than I do my wins. Opt in to the link below. Check out the info. Get in my Facebook group. Get on my email list. And get a hold of me. Name's Rob Fraser. We'll see you in the next one.